I don't know how much I'd recommend for a new player to pull Furina right now. Right? Because if Nod-krai's gimmick is lunar reactions, it makes damage percent worthless. So Furina's such a whatever unit for those characters. That's every Hydro right now. I mean, yes and no. Like, it's not actually every Hydro. The problems with the other Hydros isn't the damage percent. Like, every Hydro has problems. But the problem with the other ones isn't the damage percent, right? Like, if you could play a 16-second rotation with a Xingqiu that has, like, 13-second uptime, instead of a 21-second rotation with Xingqiu on 18-second uptime, you'd be by far the best choice in those teams, right? Because you'd actually be able to get... Is it enough healing? It's... I don't know if it's enough by itself, but it's enough to make pretty much any healer work. What was I saying? I forgot. Oh yeah, you'd be able to get maximum Hyper Blooms. So if I go look at the Loma Furina one, right? If Xingqiu's cooldowns worked for this team, Loma Furina, right? The personal DPS would be pretty similar, but Hyper Blooms would go up to 18. Probably more like 16, right? Which brings team DPS to 125k. Which would be by far her best team, right? Like, the only problem with Xingqiu is... What is going on? Whatever. Is the cooldown. Like, the things that Xingqiu provides are amazing for these teams. It's just the cooldown that's the problem. But, like, it's the same thing for Yelan, right? But, like, more importantly, it's just... Even if it was the case for everyone, right? Does that really change anything? Like, if a character isn't a big DPS upgrade for your teams, you shouldn't go for them. Whether the reason why they're not a big DPS upgrade is because there's no other good options, or because the other options are good, right? Like, it doesn't really change anything. Alright, so the question is, how relevant will the characters that care about Furina stay in Genshin's meta going forward? And will they release carries that care about Furina? My expectation right now is they're probably going to make Varka care about Furina, but that's kind of the only 6-point carry I expect to care about Furina. Maybe Alice, but I'm not convinced. I'm a huge believer in the Alice driver for Nicole idea. In the Revmelt Alice team, like, I think that's what's gonna happen. What element is Nicole? Cryo, supposedly. Right, but like, if we look at the Nod-krai characters, right, we look at the list of the Nod-krai characters we got, right? We don't... Senderon is supposedly not going to be playable. Durin is supposedly going to be a support. We already know what Flynn's and Loma do. Neither of them care about Furina. Both of them can be played with Furina, but not because of the damage percent, just because you don't really have good Hydro options, and they're not necessarily better than Ino. Alright, and we know what Ino does. So, who's left, right? We have Columbina. No fucking shot she's played with Furina, right? We've had conflicting leaks for Columbina. Some people say she's a Hydro, like, off-field support. Some people say she's a carry. If she's an off-field support, she's going to be a support for Lunar Charge teams. She won't work with Furina. She'll replace Furina in the teams where you can kind of use Furina right now. If she's a carry, no shot she's a damage percent scaling carry. No way. She's going to be a reaction-focused one, right? Like, she's going to be a Lunar reaction carry if she's a carry. So, no way Columbina's good with Furina. Nefer, highly likely a Lunar Bloom carry, because otherwise Loma's Ascension 1 passive doesn't make any fucking sense. Varka supposedly is an Animo carry, so he could synergize with Furina. And then Jehoda is the most 4-star looking design I've ever seen. So like, all that's left is Nicole and Alice. Nicole is supposed to be a support for Melt team, so probably not going to be that good for Furina. And then Alice. Alright, the only two characters that I could see being good with Furina are Varka and Alice. That's kind of it. But personally, I don't expect Alice to actually be a carry. because I feel like there's just way too much role overlap. Or there's just way too much overlap with pyro carries, and I don't think they're going to release another one that just works in the same team cores. And so I expect the melt synergy to be slightly different, and instead of forward vape, be reverse, or instead of forward melt, be reverse melt. So I expect Alice to be like a pseudo carry that enables all field cryo damage to be better, right? Like, I expect her to be competition to Linny and Klee, not competition to Maoika, basically. Now, Furina can work with that, but she's incredibly replaceable for that kind of design, especially if Nicole ends up being a good off-field cryo carry, like the off-field, or the cryo channeling I'm expecting and hoping her kid is gonna be. Right, but like that's what I'm expecting out of this. So that's what I'm predicting. And if that's the case, then Furina won't have much value for almost any of the Nod-krai characters. Does that mean she's bad? No, because like Furina is currently an important part of one of the best characters' best teams, but it's kind of only one, right? Like when you look at the carries that are standing on the top of the meta, I guess Nevilette too. But like right now, the carries at the top of the meta are Maoika, Skirk, and then the carries that like break the, how do I even describe that? Break the 100k DPS. Well, it's not, that's not the only condition. Like that's one of them, but like supposed to be pronounced like Yahoda. Oh, okay, cool. I guess the best way to describe it is the carries that can brute force on like Sid and Onslaught content that it isn't designed for them, but that doesn't counter them either, right? So like for example, Arlecchino being able to clear the Secret Source Automaton, the Cryo one, last Stygian Onslaught, right? Like the carries that can clear the Stygian bosses that half counter them, but don't full counter them, right? And those carries are like Barissa, Nevidette can't. I mean, he could. Like I managed to do it on other accounts. But yeah, so Varissa, Nevilette, Arlecchino. You could argue Molani, maybe. Chaska, no. Gumming, no. Aligned? I don't think so. Like, Karain clears the content that is designed for her teams to be good in, right? Like Lava Dragon. But there's a fuck ton of characters that do, right? Like, fuck, Xiao does it. Yeah. What I'm talking is the sort of characters that can clear content slightly outside of just the stuff that's designed for their teams. And that's why I'm kind of half including Molani. Because I'd say that Lava Dragon is not a good enemy for Molani, but you can still technically get through it. Does Hyperloom count? No, I don't think so. But yeah, like, I expect Flynn's to, like, make it into this. I expect Loma. I don't know if I expect Loma to make it here, actually. Because as much as Loma teams calc fairly high at KQM standard, you have to understand that most people generally, like, on very good builds, end up with builds better than KQM standard. And Hyperloom teams don't scale quite as well. They're Omega brain dead and pretty easy to play. So just in terms of, like, amount of investment and skill required to clear Abyss stuff, she's definitely on the same level as these characters, if not higher. But in terms of ability to clear Stygian Onslaught level balance content, I think she's a little bit lower. I think she could be argued to make it in here, but it'll be a lot closer, right? I think in order for her to comfortably make it here, you would need to have Burgeon teams that calc above 100k. And I don't think we're there right now. Maybe Durin, who knows? But yeah, and when you look at the characters that are here, right? Doesn't really want Furina. Definitely does want Furina. Can use Furina, but it's not her best team. Generally does want Furina. Doesn't want Furina, doesn't want Furina. Right? So you've got two characters that actually want Furina. One of them is in this tier, and one of them here. But then you look at what's going to be coming in 6.x, and if my prediction of most of the carries not being Furina reliant does turn out to be true, then the question becomes, where do these future carries end up? And based on what Flynn's is doing, I expect most of them to make it here or higher. And that just starts saturating like the amount of characters at this level of power that don't really want Furina. And you start encountering situations where your combination of the 3 best teams for Siege and Onslaught doesn't want Furina at all. But it's always going to depend on which characters you have, right? But the point I'm making here is just, I wouldn't recommend Furina as like a blanket statement character. Like, I don't think that every meta-focused player should get Furina anymore. I think Furina is only for people that are playing the characters that generally want her on their team. Isn't Furina like the best unit to have on your account? I don't think so at all. Bennett is. I mean, I think it's fair to assume that there was an implied 5-star unit in their question, right? Because, like, obviously it's Bennett. Like, no fucking question about it. But you already have Bennett, so it's not a question.